Welcome to the Awaken the Awesome podcast with your host, Olivier D. This is Awaken the Awesome, a podcast where we acknowledge that we are all in this together. Through enlightening conversations and personal insights, we like to engage with individuals just like you, who show us how they are bringing a little bit of awesomeness along their individual journeys. Our hope is to inspire you to always keep pushing and to stay awesome along the way. When I was a kid, we watched this wonderful iconic movie titled Le Grand Bleu, or The Big Blue in English if you prefer, starring Reno and Jean-Marc Barr. It's the beautiful, poetic, and tragic story of the rivalry of what some would call a bond between two individuals who, through their chosen passion for freediving, were not just competitors, but also friends. I'm not going to give you a long synopsis. If you care to see what happens when talent meets obsession, while also fueled by the thirst to always push past your limits, just watch it. I bring this up because, for some reason, in trying to find the right words to properly introduce today's guest, I struggled. Not because the words would not come, but more because of this weird comparison that I could not shake off, as I truly thought this was an appropriate visual for today's particular exchange. I came across Xavier Delereux's truthfully incredible career as I was randomly playing a documentary on YouTube, and his name got mentioned in passing. I would not have paid much mind to it had it not been for two particular details. First, he's got a really cool name. Second, there's just something about surviving an avalanche that I find interesting. An established icon of extreme snowboarding, Xavier's love and skills for both powder and big mountain riding have achieved worldwide recognition. Indeed, as a 3-time freeride champion, 4-time border cross world champion, X Games Border X champion, he boasts an incredible career spanning over decades. But please don't let the celebrity and notoriety fool you. Xavier has also used his voice to further the efforts towards addressing the climate crisis by hosting the Sustainability Dialogues podcast with Dr. Johan Rockstrom, and is also a dedicated family man, something we touch on in the latter part of the episode. I am not an athlete, but I have an undeniable respect and appreciation for those individuals, the peak performers, who, in every sense of the word, are willing to lay it all out on the line for that one moment of unmistakable passion that gets them up in the morning. On this episode, and with a generosity I am immensely grateful for, Xavier shares his incredible insight on the real dangers of the sport that are often overlooked behind the rockstar image, the passion that keeps fueling him despite his already incredible journey, how skill and luck can coexist, trusting your gut, finding that moment of peace within our own lives, and so much more. So let's get into this. Awaken the Awesome, episode 153 with Xavier Delereux. Here we go. Xavier, of course, I want to thank you for being part of this, really impromptu recording of the Awaken the Awesome podcast. As I told you, it was just one of those random circumstances. As I said, when the YouTube algorithm just launches a video up in the air and just shows you, I see the title, How I Survived an Avalanche. Like, hello? Like, what? So I didn't know about you, about your career whatsoever, but the more you dig down the rabbit hole, of course, when you have the honor to have such an accomplished trendsetter, just a trailblazer of such an extreme sport, such a delightful sport that is snowboarding. Hey, I live in Quebec, and coming from Haiti, you would think that, okay, I've been trying at least to go snowing or something. No, I don't skate. I don't ski. I don't snowboard. My only experience with snow is basically taking my kids out just to go luge and to shovel snow out my driveway. I've said this, but, for people like you to show me the exact opposite of what can be done, we're laughing, but, of course, I have to tip my hat to all your achievements. Of course, again, a very heartfelt thank you and welcome to the Awaken the Awesome podcast. Really, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks. It's a great pleasure to being here. And you have a great excuse because where you live, you don't have the peaks to do what I do. You cover what, like 3,000 2,000 miles maybe, or
yeah, pretty much.
So like snow, at least cold, so there's going to be a bit of knowing
it's a good experience. It's a good initiation.
We talked about this before, my sport is intense, and I think there's a lot to say about it, even if you're not really completely familiar with the activity of it, because it has a bit of a crazy side with which raises a lot of questions on
What I did want to get into, though, just a quick comparison, because it did one question that was rummaging around in my head before the recording as we were leading up to this appointment. The thing is, of course, for the most extreme sport I can do myself, because I started doing some Spartan racing before confinement, obviously, and
some what racing, sorry?
Spartan racing. It's basically a Spartan race. It's like an obstacle course race.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for a couple of years. And one thing that really basically, made it something that I really do enjoy is at the point where you reach the top of the mountain, especially here in Quebec, we have such beautiful forests and mountains and peaks and stuff. And when you get to the top of a mountain and you look at nature and you look at the valleys and you look at the beauty of what Mother Nature has allowed. I know I'm getting all woo-woo, but I transpose that to you when you're at the top of the mountain and we're just about to kick off. And I'm sure you have those moments of isolation and just taking it in. And I just would like you to basically take us there. What does it feel like to be with the mountain and just you? And is there that moment of zen that we're just like, man, we're so lucky to be able to be experiencing this. So what does it feel like, that moment when you're all alone up there?
Well, it's very funny you say that because you don't know my sport. And you just picked up the one moment that explains everything in a way. And to me, like very often I get the question like, okay, what's your favorite moment? What's like your favorite memory? And always what comes to my mind is this exact moment where I'm standing at the top of my line and you've got the whole landscape and you feel the strength and the power of everything around you. Like, I think, the mountains can be beautiful, but in winter with the right light, when you're at the top of a peak and everything is wintry, calm and really wild, it's just magic. And of course there's something really magic that happens. And it kind of validates everything that we do, all the good sides and bad side, and it actually transcends. Yeah, I don't know how to say, because at that moment, usually when we get there, we've spent already quite a lot of time working on the descents that we're going to be doing. It's probably been quite a hassle and really hard work and already quite a lot of risks involved to get to the top. Mm-hmm. We've already, worked a lot through so many technical details to, find the way up in a way, like see how possible it is, like gone through the dangers and everything. We've studied the line, what could go wrong, what could go well. And usually when we're there, it's like we validated everything and we're about to drop. So there's a bit of tension, but at the same time, you're so much into your head, into your zone. And I think this is the most special moment of all.
See, the fact that I hear you talking, it's like a well-orchestrated performance, because just hearing you talk about all that has to happen for you just to get there. And for those of us who are totally uninitiated, from the day you decide, okay, I'm going to go up that mountain. So what is it that you have to consider? You just have to consider transport, who's going to go with you, your film crew, helicopters. Because I know there's a lot going on in the background, but for those of us who don't know, just paint us a picture of everything that has to go right just to get you up there.
Yeah, there can be a lot, and it depends the way of transportation you're going to use. It could be very easy sometimes if you're on ski resort and you just go on the side of the piste just to climb this little peak. But most of the time, we of course choose the ones that are way out there. We go to Antarctica, we go to Alaska. We would fly planes for a few days, like for a few hours, camp for a few weeks in the wild, and choose these peaks and have to get up at 2:00 in the morning to start climbing it, to get the right light in the face, and climb for maybe like sometimes up to 12 hours or something to get to the top. So, it really depends, but usually there's a lot of work and a lot of danger involved, and also a lot of thoughts. And, it does not always go through in a way.
Because you should know, because we're not going to skip over that. But out of everything, before I ask the question, of course, everybody's waiting on, but out of everything, all the snow sports in the world, you could go racketing, you could go skiing, you could just go, I don't know, just skating. Why did you pick snowboarding out of everything? What did that start for you?
I think it started, I grew up in a ski resort when I was a kid, and I started skiing and snowboarding. Well, skiing felt like an old sport in a way. The mentality was really stuck in really kind of a bit of a boring kind of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And in snowboarding, I got really lucky actually, basically, because all my friends and I and my bigger brother did snowboarding.
Okay.
But like in a really gentle level, like without any like big goals or anything. And we got this guy who took us over, and like he kind of started to teach us snowboarding, but he taught us so much more than that. Like he was like quite a bit crazy. Well, he still is, because he's still
around.
Yeah. But he had such good energy, and he really taught us how to be crazy, how to see the mountain in a completely different way, like seeing so many more possibilities than what we had seen before in skiing. And with our personalities, you know, he was really teaching us to want something, to dare to want to get stuff, like to dare to become better, to dare to try things, to be crazy, but at the same time to work hard. And he's basically not only given me, you know, that incredible passion of snowboarding, but he's also inspired me for the rest of my life. Like, and he set the person that I am. Yeah.
Oh wow. I read, I was listening to a previous interview you gave a couple of years back, and those words that you used really came from a very heartfelt place, where you're talking about, I am always in a constant state of evolution. So I was wondering if you still believe that, and how that resonates for you in regards to, are we ever satisfied, or are we always looking to get better? Where do you fall on that? Because it's a very powerful thing.
I think it depends on people. And in sports, you know, I think a lot of sports and a lot of people, you know, are really happy to just perform, you know, to the like biggest perfection, their sport, their move, you know, like they're going to be doing that like throughout their whole career, throughout like 20, 30 years. And I think for me, snowboarding has been really fitting my personality, because I quickly get bored, so I need to experience new things, feel that I learn new things. Otherwise, you know, like I'm not the type of guy that is gonna just work over and over and over and over again on the same thing. So I think snowboarding has been great because it has allowed me to really evolve through that. Not only as a passionate snowboarder, you know, like doing all kinds of disciplines in snowboarding, putting them together, taking them into the mountains. And then in the mountains, you know, for years I've been competing and really focusing on the performance. And then I've been using my snowboard to travel, to go on expeditions around the world, to Antarctica, to Alaska, to Japan, to many places all over the world. And after that, also, I've had the chance to kind of use it also to mix it with different sports, like with paragliding, to access lines and things. And there's always been this, evolution that you talk about, which has been so important to me because every time, you know, like after 20, 30 years, and especially if you do something dangerous, after a while, it's hard to justify why you're still doing it. You know, like there will for sure be some moments where you're going to be like, okay, I am at the top of this line. I am risking my life. You know, some days you really feel connected with that idea. You're fine, you know, because you really want it. But some days you're like, why am I doing this? And then whenever you bring something new, like you call it an evolution, and I think that's the word I would use. You know, you know, there is a annuity always in what you're doing, and it makes it really cool, and it makes it a great reason to keep going, to keep experiencing, and to keep evolving, and I really love it, and I feel really fortunate to have to have such a sport, like to be fond of such a cool sport, which allows me to develop myself so much.
I think we can all resonate with that in regards to, no matter whether it's snowboarding, whether it's writing a book, whether it's whatever fuels your passion. I believe that you should never be content. That's just for me, because you know what? There are, as you said, people who are okay with just doing this one thing and okay, I did it, and then they're good. But there are all those category of people who will follow their passion to its greatest extent, you know. And you have to understand that that is not a bad thing as well, because why wouldn't you want to seek better or best You know, a lot of people say excellence doesn't exist, but you can try. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of people, you know, I guess I'm not sure how you interpret it, but sometimes throughout all the conversations I've had, unfortunately, I have to deal with maybe fear, you know, being fear of being that good, or maybe fear of failure. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we have to wrestle with that. And sometimes, you know, you have to come to face with, do you want it bad enough or not? You know? And I was, you know, in regards to you and your career, you know, have you felt that has it always been there, you know, just wanting, because with all that you've achieved, with all that you've done, you know, do you ever stop and say like, okay, you know what, I'm good? With all the achievements and the championships and all these things that you've done for your sport, because you are an inspiration in a lot of circles, but do you ever stop and, you know, take a step back and pull the brakes and say like, you know what, I think I'm good, I've done enough, you know, and you know what, let's call it a day?
Yeah, it has happened many times actually, because the problem of my sport is that it's pretty dangerous, and the snow is an element where, you know, it's not necessarily about you know, falling down the mountain, tripping over, you know, you making a mistake. It can very often, you know, it's going to be very random that there's going to be this slab or this little avalanche or this serac falling. You know, the danger can come from so many places, and it can be so unpredictable. Even, you know, as experienced you can be, it can really trick you, and that makes it a bit difficult. So sometimes, and especially like, for example, like this week, having lost a friend, you know, you ask yourself, okay, like, like, what do I want more from this sport? You know, like, why do I do this sport? There's so many other sports which are so fun, which are, you know, where I'm really learning a lot of things and experiencing great connection with nature, and I'm not taking such ridiculous risk, and why I'm not just doing that. And honestly, ever since the beginning of my career, like, because I've lost a lot of friends through the way, and every time I've gone through that very question, and every time, you know, I've been letting time pass by and go back into it a bit wiser somehow, like having learned a bit from those situations. But it's never gone to the point where I was like, okay, that's it, I'm gonna go and start ice skating or something like that.
I hope not. You're too much of a badass. I really don't see how that's gonna go. But you know
Who
what?
knows? Maybe it'll come.
Maybe. You never know. Hey, you know, I tried golf once. I said I'll never do it again. But hey, you know, you pick and choose, because you only have one life.
Yeah.
And that, you know, just leading up to it, when I got off the video, where you basically, you know, give us a bullet point. And guys, if you haven't seen the video, basically I will link it up, you know, on the blog post for the recording after when this goes live, because you guys really need to go through Xavier's own account, you know, point by point into what went wrong on March 28th, 2008. It's already been a really long time, but I'm sure it must be a very vivid memory for you. But as I hit you up on the email and I told you, really, the fact that you're still here with us is already a blessing. So it's already, again, if you believe in the highest spirit or whatever, of just coincidence. So we're happy that you're still here. But the question just begs to ask, you just survived an avalanche. Why the hell would you get back on? And I believe that's the border between passion and lunacy. I don't know, you know, but just for the normal guy, just asking the question, why the hell would you go back?
No, it's a very good question, because for sure my first reaction at the hospital after I woke up after the whole incident was, it was clear in my head that I was gonna just stop and that this sport was ridiculous. And I stayed in the hospital for a few days, and I remember being shocked at myself after probably 2-3 days, being out there on my window and watching at the peaks, you know, like it was all sunny and they were full of snow, and I was just reading lines on the peaks, and I really surprised caught myself reading lines. I was like, really, you're doing this after what happened to you? Oh God, you must really like it. And it really came like a realization that even though, you know, very often I would be kind of bitching, sorry about the word, but
no, take your time. It's an open forum
about the sport, you know, complaining, being like, oh, I'm tired of this, that in the sport. I was like, oh man, you really like it. And it was sometimes it's good, like, because you're in the routine, you just do something and you don't have time to you really assess what you're doing. And that was a bit my chance, because it gave me a chance to pause, to be like, okay, should I quit? Like, is this completely ridiculous or not? And I had in front of me probably 8 months until the following winter, where I could really think things over and assess how I could do it in a way, if I really wanted to do it or not. And it was obvious to me that I wanted to, and that I could find a way to have a better procedure when I would go out there. So I kind of decided to use it as as the best lesson of my life, in a way, as like after that, in free riding, basically the hardest thing I find, it is to turn back, because it is so magical, so amazing. The feeling is so good, it's so intense. But sometimes you have one or two bad signs, which tell you that something bad could happen, and you just need to turn back. But you've done all this effort. You've probably climbed that peak. You've probably waited for weeks and weeks. It's probably maybe your 1 week of the year riding powder or something. And you just need to say, oh, there's this beautiful run in front of me, just waiting for me to put my line into it. And no, I'm just gonna go home, and just gonna go back to the tracked piste or whatever. So this is hard, but having gone through that avalanche, like just thinking about it, it's been always given me the best reason to turn back and to take that decision, to being able to be strong enough to be like, okay, no, it doesn't smell good, it doesn't feel good, so you need to turn back and come back another day. Yeah.
So in your own words, you said it, you need to leave your ego, at home or at the bar. Because unfortunately that is the fine line between, having a great ride or unfortunately having an unfortunate, permanent incident. And, sometimes we wrestle with that, not just in snowboarding, because a lot of people hear your words, and I'm certainly taking notes, because you can compare that to anything in life. Sometimes you want something bad enough, and then you realize, there's that kick of instinct that tells you, what? Call it off, or like, this doesn't feel right. And you're saying that these instincts are not just made up. You should really trust your instincts.
Yeah, you should really trust them. But at the same time, sometimes you can get tricked, because, I always call it the good and bad fear, in a way, because I always feel that you need to go through both to take a decision, and that you need to being able to kind of play with it, to interfere with it, to know, like, whenever it's like the good one, like, so the good fear, which makes you scared for the right reasons, or the one that just makes you scared because it's a scary situation, and it makes your brain go crazy and your emotions take over in the wrong way. I mean, it's a bit of a tricky one, and some days, you're gonna like feel a great connection with it, and some days you're not gonna know what to think. But the problem is that in the mountain, it can be so brutal that when in doubt, you should just listen anyways, and usually it's rare that you're going to be disappointed in the long run.
Just asking you, in that situation, and just to address a portrait for people who are probably in the winter sports, and just someone coming back from the other end, because again, I don't know the entire world, but when an avalanche happens, okay, if we're just thinking about that day, was this just a freak accident? What caused it? Or do we know? It's like, what is the actual, what caused it, and how basically were you caught in the hailstorm? Because you're just sliding down, and then you have mountains of snow coming after you. But what happened exactly?
Well, to tell you the whole story, first of all, that avalanche was not just an avalanche. It was like the avalanche. It was like the thing which you talk about, which never happens, and which happened that day. Basically, the whole mountain went down into an avalanche on me and took me down 1.5 miles down the mountain. So I don't know if you realize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like over 3,000 foot vertical, and 1.5 miles. So it's like crazy.
So you're being dragged.
Yeah, like completely. And normally an avalanche like this just carries so much snow that even without talking of the fact of suffocating or anything, like way before the avalanche stops, you're already dead because you've been crushed by so many such masses of snow. And honestly, it's like there's no reason why like I did not die that day. And yeah, I went to see a bit of a like we call her the magic lady here. It's like kind of I don't know how you say that. Like she heals. She's a healer a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, yeah, she told me that I was dead and that I came back to life. And well, she told me a lot of really interesting things. So I'm not going to go through them because it's a bit personal and like.
No, I totally understand. Totally understand.
It, but like, wow, it was so intense, so powerful, and so crazy, and it helped me a lot to understand. And yeah, basically that day, you know, we had been doing really steep runs all morning. You know, like a lot more kind of exposed and intimidating descents, like the whole day. And that one was kind of towards the end of the day, you know, much easier, much more mellow. And so I made like the huge mistake to just underestimate it completely, because it was more mellow like than what we'd done before. And so I went without taking the usual procedures of, you know, like we always have a routine of sitting before the lines and studying them and seeing what the risk is and like finding ways out in case slabs happen. Like, so slabs mean like small avalanches, and which can set off a big one after. And yeah, so I underestimated like that, went into it without preparing, and basically when things started to go wrong, the only thing I could do is panic and straight line down. Or whereas if I would have prepared well, I could have just ducked on the side and hid and just let everything go, and it would have been fine. But yeah, it was really hard that it would go that big, because this never happens.
This practically never happens.
And yeah, you can. I think it's important to see the video, because the video explains it really well.
Yeah, I see that, and I just see you, and then I just see you 1 second sliding down. I see that massive amount of snow, and then at the second, like, you're gone. I'm like, what?
It's basically at the beginning. I do my first turn onto a big pocket of snow, so an accumulation of snow, which I should have seen if I took a bit more time. But yeah, I made a big turn on it, released it. So that's called a slab. So it's not a huge avalanche, but it's like maybe 60 foot wide or something. You know, all around me breaking, but you have enough speed to get out. And because I didn't know what to do, I straight lined down. And the weight of that slab, when it came down to the bottom of the slope, made everything explode around me. So like the whole slope kind of release and just go down and just drag me down. So like wherever I could watch, I could only see the snow cracking, and I could see that there was no way out. So I pulled my avalanche airbag, and then I knew I was going to go for a crazy, crazy ride. Yeah.
Wow. So how, when that happens, when unfortunately, when the snow settles, how do the emergency responders, how do they find you exactly? Do you have a transponder or something? I'm just asking.
Well, they're called transceivers, but you know, in such a big avalanche, even a transceiver, you know, you'd be so lucky for them to find you in time, because I don't know if you see the amount of boulders of snow that there would be with a 1.5 mile avalanche. Over 2
I can only imagine.
And so it's like when you go through an avalanche that has gone, you realize how tough it is to make 100 meters, you know, to walk 100 meters like through the boulders. And to find someone. So like we had a helicopter filming us that day, and the helicopter was in the air when it happened, and it followed me and lost me in the avalanche, and the helicopter could not find me. And it's only by a big luck that the helicopter thought they saw me at the, like towards the bottom. So one of the, like my friend who was filming with me, the other rider, he came down and he just kept going all the way till the end of the slide. And he found me by mistake, but I was like already completely strangled by my helmet with the face in the snow. I was on top of 6 meters of snow.
Oh boy.
And like,
that is,
I already had the tongue all swollen. The eyes popped out. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Wow, I can't even imagine. It
was incredible. Like, the combinations of luck were just they don't make sense. Yeah.
It just it begs saying it just wasn't your time.
Mm-hmm.
It just was not your time. Yeah, I really truly believe this. It just wasn't your time, man.
Yeah.
I'm taking a second. I'm actually shaking just imagining it, just hearing you talk about it. Even years later. It's an amazing thing. And you say you unfortunately lost a friend just this past week. And again, I'm really truly sorry. And for those of us listening in, just again, not just for snowboarders, but we're going to specifically talk about the sport itself. Yeah, you can be passionate. It's a beautiful thing as you talk about nature, connection, surpassing your limits, exploring, and just going after your dream and this thing that you love doing. But your passion also can be very dangerous, and it can have a very dire cost. And, just talking about that, what are the things that are often overlooked, and what are the safety measures that people can take, and what would you tell us, for people just, out there, just sliding, but you have to take precautions?
Well, yeah, there we have to be specific. It's not just snowboarding. It's really off-piste skiing and snowboarding, because the gear has evolved a lot in the last decade, and now it makes it really easy. Even if you don't have a really good level of snow, even if you're a beginner, you can go and enjoy powder in a super easy way. And like, everyone has seen a lot of incredible footage of powder flying, and the feeling is the best feeling in the world. But the problem is that all the learning process doesn't fit, with how easy it is to enjoy it. So the problem is that, as soon as there's a big storm, there's going to be a sunny day, and everyone who is lucky enough to be there is going to be just so excited, and including myself. And it's just going to be so hard to just resist and let the snow settle and see how it evolves, and try to ask, professionals where to go, and etc. In Europe, it's not like in North America where, especially in the US, where, like ski patrols will open areas, like slowly, and usually they've secured everything and things. Here, it's like, it's considered as a mountain sport, and you've got the freedom to go and take the risk that you want, as long as you don't put any other people in danger.
Okay.
Which means that, like, in the resorts, like especially here, Verbier, you're allowed to just go out there, do the craziest things that you want, and like very often, after a snowfall, it's gonna be very easily very sketchy, and it's gonna require a lot of experience. And even with experience, you could do mistake. And we've seen it this weekend with our friend. He was really good. He's been riding here for 15 years. Really knows, this is really the place where he had the accident. Is really one place where we go all the time. And this one time, it was a bit dangerous. It's true, but like, it went like there's a slide which went in a place and in a dimension which we did not. Well, we've never seen that, and it happened right that moment for him, and took him over some cliffs and things, and
Well,
it's been terrible. But the problem is that people don't realize that dark side of the coin and how dark it is. And I've been trying, because I've been feeling a bit guilty for so many years to try to inspire people to love it, to go out there, to discover freeriding, to enjoy it. And at the same time, I feel that I really have the responsibility to tell how crazy it can be, and how awful, and how horrible. Like, I think there's not bad enough word on, like, because when the situation happens, you don't understand how, 5 minutes before it was the best day of your life, and now it's the worst. It's just the worst. It just happens too quickly. And you're not ready. Like, and even me talking about it all the time, like, the other day, it was just so tough to have your brain working to comprehend what's happening, and to to act in the right way to make all the safety procedures happen and everything. But yeah, it's a tricky sport, like really. Yeah.
I can imagine because, just because I guess sometimes, I'm trying to phrase this properly. I guess sometimes when even as experienced as you are, you understand that, there's risk and, there is the reality of as much fun as it is, there's a very real danger here, and you have to come to terms with your own disposition as to how much risk you're willing to take, and how much it means to you. And sometimes you also understand, and I'm sure you've had these moments, where, like I said, when you're just about to jump off and you're just going to slide down, that, what, I might crash, or, I might have all the preparation, as you said, whether through your own avalanche or unfortunately with your friend. We understand that, what, this passion or this purpose that we set for ourselves, and there's a very real risk involved. And, as a parent, do you ever often find yourself telling yourself like, okay, maybe I don't want my kids snowboarding, or I don't want my kids, just doing here. Like, are you going to go that far as to say, okay, nobody should do it? Or do you just have to be very aware of the dangers? As much as, as much fun as it is, the dangers is there, and it's always going to be there, isn't it?
Yeah. It's always going to be there. And like, in a way, the more you do the sport, and the more the years pass by, and the more you see things, and the more you realize that actually you thought you knew, but you don't. And it's funny that you mentioned the fact of, as a parent, how do you feel about the fact of having your children going and like, considering if it's just the right option to be like, okay, no, you're not going to do this sport because it's, forbid it because it's dangerous. Because like, honestly, like in the last few days, this is something that crosses my mind. And I remember when my daughter was younger. So I've got two daughters, like now is one is 2 and the other one is 15.
Okay.
So, but when my 15-year-old daughter was younger, I thought, I didn't want her to start free riding because, I would not be able to handle it, and to feel like scared for when she would go up there, and to trust her. But having been in the mountains with her, I've been really amazed how she was reacting, and she really gave me confidence. And now she's with a really good group, where they go with mountain guides every weekend, and they learn, and then they go and build kickers, and they ride lines. They do technique. They do really a lot, and they learn so much. And I think that it is quite a blessing in a way as well, to being able to learn in the proper way. And if you do it in the proper way, things can go wrong, but at the same time, you can limitate a lot, the consequences. And when you live in the mountain and you grow in the mountains, that, okay, when you're out there doing whatever sport you do, like mountain biking, climbing, mountaineering, flying, paraglides, that all the things that you like, they're a bit dangerous, and that the accidents can happen, and you're fine with it. But you get to understand also that there is, a way to learn about them, to be patient about them, to have the right humility in front of the mountain, which, like hopefully will make you go through mistakes and bad luck in a way.
You have to deal with it. You have to, take it. It's a give and take, and you have to be able to, open it up and, be comfortable with the fact that, what, it's going to be okay. And what, if it doesn't, you also have to be, open to that as well. Man, it's so much truth. But it's very inspiring to hear you talk so openly and candidly. And again, I was very open even before we hit record that, whether we were going to touch on the subject or not, but really thank you for trusting us, to tell your story, and then, just enlightening us to the very realities of the risk that we can take in whatever activity we take, but specifically with snowboarding. I'm learning a lot. I also wanted to touch on, just pivoting a little bit, with your podcast you recorded with Dr. Johan Rockstrom, the Sustainability Dialogues, and it really allowed me to take into account the fact that, snowboarding, fun, it's winter sports and stuff, but also we have a direct relationship, because we've been talking about Mother Nature, a direct relationship to our impact on the planet. And us as human beings, it's through your conversation that we realize that, you know what, everything we do, and as much as, okay, just taking a helicopter to go to the top of the peak, just for me, just doing my only day-to-day activity, that has a very serious impact. And those are the kinds of things that, you are basically at the forefront of letting us understand there's a very real impact that we're having on the planet. And what has been basically the shift that you've seen? Are there some progress that's being made, just to have a better relationship, whether through the sports or how ski resorts are handling or how many people they allow? Or what are some things that, what are the biggest takeaways you've gotten from these conversations with the sustainability dialogues? Because it's very, very informative. What did you want to do with, and what's been the biggest takeaways for you?
Well, basically, I don't know if you know Johan Rockström, but he's the head of the Potsdam Institute. So he's been the one who's been drafting all the Paris Agreement on climate. So he advises all the heads of state, and he's a big, big deal. And very randomly, he happens to be the friend of a friend here in Verbier. And he loves free riding, and he came a few times, and we rode together. And we've been having an amazing time in the mountain, riding some couloirs and touring. And he's been telling me, about all his knowledge, on climate and everything. And as I've always been really connected to nature, but I never wanted to, I've always been careful also in my life about, the way I was consuming and things. But at the same time, still, living normally and traveling a lot through my job as a snowboarder for competitions, for sponsors and everything. And I felt always that I was, kind of guilty, and that I was not really worth talking about it, and that I didn't have the right to tell people what to do or anything. And he, the way he's been, I went to one of his talks basically where he explained the situation we're in with global warming, especially because it's his biggest subject. And he says it's the biggest priority as well. And the way he's got to talk about it in such a simple way made me want to know a lot more. And I really like the fact that, to me before, it was not about, how much better you could be, but how good you are or how bad you are, and every time you do something, you do a bit of an effort, but then someone is going to tell you, oh yeah, but this is bad because you should do it like this or like that. It's such a touchy subject. And, listening to him, it was just like, hey man, honestly, okay, we're in a really bad situation with the climate, but there is a solution. And the solution is not, okay, that we go and stop everything. We go and live in the woods, and we stop buying anything. And
that's what I got from him. Yeah.
The plants that are out there, and we never take a car again. He's a lot more pragmatic, and he really advises that we can still live in the same way, but if we all do a bit of effort, and then if we do improve all the time, and if we start to get that kind of mentality in our heads, things could shift eventually. And that's where comes from, to take down 10% of your global, to your carbon emissions every year. That's where it comes from in the Paris Agreement, because I think he says that it is enough, and he tells you examples that are going to fit with your life, which makes things go into the right direction. But to me, really, it's been a game changer in the fact that, it completely changed my mind. Okay, I don't need to judge myself. I don't need to be the perfect guy, the perfect green guy. I just need to try to get better all the time and make it suit with my lifestyle. Okay, in some parts, I'm going to be really bad, but then in some others, I'm going to be really good. And my neighbor is going to be completely different. And that has been amazing. And so I decided to make a project with him where I was going to go basically to the poles, because a lot of his theories are based on the poles and the ice. And, it's quite a big element for me with what I do. And I thought that I would go in these places and really try to understand for myself and try to share that with the people which would watch my films and being inspired by the beauty of nature through the snowboarding, and like kind of, we had this huge project based around all that, which did not happen. So eventually we transformed some of the interviews that we did with Johan into this sustainability dialogue so that people could get something out of it, because this guy is so fascinating. And by the way, I really encourage you, if you want to go, just go and find his talks. Like, he's got a few TED Talks and other platforms as well.
I definitely will.
Super easy to understand, super factual, and not judgmental, and super inspiring. So
that's what I got from it. Really. That's definitely what I got from it, because, you spend so much time looking at all these international talks with all these pundits and telling you, okay, all right, stop eating this or stop eating that, stop producing, stop cars, stop everything. And just hearing Dr. Johan just talk about it, say like, no, okay, sure, you want to cut down carbon emissions? Like, okay, let's go. Even the way he dresses it is such a very dumb, human, very simple mindset. Okay, take a look at what you're doing and just change this one little thing. I don't need you to stop and turn off all your lights. As you said, go live in a cave, because that's not the solution, because we still have to function. Even the episode you guys did on transport, and he said it himself. Okay, transport is responsible for at least 15% of carbon emissions, but okay, it's also one of the biggest, it's a vital industry. It has to happen, but we can, do different type of, it's such an insightful thing, but I will link up the episodes, because the guys really need to check it out, but it's a lot of fun. I just want to congratulate you guys on a very, very cool series of exchanges. It's a lot of fun.
Well, he did all the job. I was just in there and, like as the dumb snowboarder, and he was really enlightening me. And
there's always something to learn.
And to share that,
always something to learn. I'm very respectful of the clock. I'm not going to keep you, Xavier, but again, I'll just take 2 seconds of pause. Again, thank you so much for your trust and just being here. Just exchange this very random impromptu conversation on the podcast. I'm sure a lot of people, probably going to take up snowboarding, or, just have a little, just peek inside the mind of a champion and an accomplished individual. Again, sorry for your loss, but also very happy that you survived that avalanche, and teaching us a lot about how the precautions that we can take, every day, just stepping out of our doors. You don't know what can happen, but you know what? Life is meant to be experienced. And that's also what I got, from your wonderful account, that, it's a wonderful world out there. You need to go out there and experience it. And again, I just want to thank you, for being in the podcast. It's really an honor.
Thank you very much, Olivier. It's been very inspiring, and I really enjoyed sharing that. And I hope, you can get, everyone can get inspired, because, I think just getting out there is super important. But you need a little bit of there's a little bit of a way to take.
We do have a running tradition on the podcast. It's not putting you on the spot. It's just leaving the floor open to the guests. Just, a fun thought, a kind quote, a website, a motivational, little quote that you might have. Anything a person can wake up tomorrow morning and, just remember that. Take that next step towards that next level. Anything you want to leave the listeners with?
No, I used to always say, like, go big or go home. Like, we used to always say that with my friends. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. But now it feels very wrong this week.
It's okay. No issues. But if the listeners want to connect with you, on the interwebs, any place we can go directly to find the morning content, or people will connect with you directly?
Yeah, you can have a YouTube channel. Well, right now there are a lot of tutorials on snowboarding, on how to manage fear, how to handle the mountain, and all that world of freeriding. It's like YouTube/how-to-XV. Okay. And then, on my Instagram, Xavier Delerue, or on the Facebook, you can find a lot of content there, and it will direct you into some different videos there.
Awesome stuff. I'll definitely link it up. Guys, my guest, Xavier Delerue, accomplished snowboarder, trendsetter, an amazing individual. Guys, please do check out all his content, YouTube channel, Instagram. He said it himself, but I will link up all the information and all the appropriate links for the episode. Thanks again for being part of the journey. As always, check us out, awakentheawesome@gmail.com for the contacts. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this journey. Stay blessed, stay safe, have a beautiful day, and stay awesome. This has been another episode of the Awaken the Awesome podcast. We always love to get your feedback, so please do drop us a line via Instagram, Facebook, or email. Our email address, awakentheawesome@gmail.com. Do visit our official website at awakentheawesome.ca, where you can find our entire back catalog of episodes and incredible guests. Also, if you haven't already, please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, give us a rating, and leave us a review, as this helps us tremendously in growing this podcast and spreading the word to more awesome listeners like you. We always appreciate your support, and thank you for listening. Stay awesome.